I'm so happy. Chocolate cake. Take one. Ta-da! Can you see that? Here's a present for you. Hello everybody and welcome to Sweet Tooth, the baking series where we make the best chocolate cake you will ever have in your life. I am not joking about this, you guys. I have dreams about this chocolate cake. I have been a chocolate cake fanatic since I was, 10 years old. So as a result, once I became a professional baker, I knew I had to create the best chocolate cake out there. Really delicious, really easy. What more could you ask for? So let's do a little ingredient rundown. Milk, if you are dairy-free, you can use any sort of milk. It doesn't have to be cow's milk. We have vegetable oil, eggs, Dutch processed cocoa powder, some granulated sugar, vanilla extract. A little bit of vanilla in a chocolate cake really amps up that flavor. We have some all-purpose flour, some leaveners here, baking soda, baking powder, along with salt and some brewed hot coffee, which is really going to take that cake to the next level. That's it. Let's get started. So this recipe, you do not need to use a stand mixer, you do not need to use a hand mixer, you can just use your handy dandy bowl and whisk. That's really it. So what we're going to do for this cake is we are going to do it all in one bowl because I want to make it as easy as possible for you guys. We're going to start out with this all-purpose flour. If you want, you can use a cake flour in this cake. I have done it with all-purpose flour for years and it is absolutely perfect. In fact, speaking of different flours you can use, this cake works wonderfully as a gluten-free cake, so you will want to use gluten-free 1-to-1 flour. A lot of people think that just substituting almond flour or something like that will work. It won't. Almond flour doesn't act the same as all-purpose flour, but Bob's Red Mill makes a really great gluten-free 1-to-1 flour, and that works really well in this cake. Then we're gonna do some granulated sugar. You can see my sugar has some clumps in it. It doesn't really matter, whatever, everything's fine. To that, we are going to add this, whoa! Do you see that? I'm literally tasting sugar in my mouth. To that, we are going to add some Dutch processed cocoa powder. If you are at the grocery store, there are two main kinds of cocoa powder that you're probably gonna see. You're gonna see 100% natural cocoa powder, and then you're also gonna see Dutch processed cocoa powder. Both cocoa powders are unsweetened. The natural cocoa powder is not gonna be treated in any way. It's just cocoa powder as it comes. Dutch processed cocoa powder is a cocoa powder that's treated with alkalizing agents to slightly de-acidify that cocoa powder. So what this does is it leads to a richer, creamier taste in your mouth and a little bit less of that acidity. Because it has a little less acidity though, we have to make sure that we use a good amount of rising agents. So we have both baking soda and baking powder for this cake. Last up, we are going to use salt. Never skimp on the salt in your baking. It really helps to enhance the natural flavors of everything in your baked goods. So what we're gonna do is we are just gonna stir all of these dry ingredients together. We are going to make a well in the center. So see how I'm just using this whisk to create almost like a reverse volcano? And then to that, we're gonna add all of our wet ingredients. So I'll start out with my eggs. I'm gonna use 3 room temperature eggs. So after the eggs, we have a neutral oil. I'm using vegetable oil. You can also use canola oil, whatever you have on hand. I have also done this cake with olive oil and it's delicious with olive oil. And then two other things we're gonna add at this moment. We're gonna add that milk right in. And then we are going to add a healthy amount of vanilla extract. If you've watched my other videos, we measure vanilla extract with a heart, so we're just gonna go in until we feel like it, but aim for about a tablespoon. So then what we're gonna do is we're first just gonna sort of mash those eggs to try to mix together the egg whites and egg yolks. And then from there, working our way out, we're gonna start in the center and just sort of mix those wet ingredients together, and then we're gonna start pulling the dry ingredients into the wet and just incorporating everything. We want our cake to be really nice and have a very tender crumb to it. And if we go and mix our cake for a minute, 2 minutes, what we can do is we can start to develop glutens in our flour, and then the tougher our baked goods become. So we really just want to mix until everything comes together. It's fine if you see a few tiny little clumps in there. Okay, so last step, I mean, oh my God, how easy was that? This is where everything really comes together. We are going to take a half cup of strongly brewed coffee, and you want this to be hot because what we're gonna do is we're gonna kickstart this baking process and just warm up our chocolate batter. And this we are just going to slowly mix together, and it's gonna become a really beautiful, velvety, luxurious chocolate cake batter. And you can see right here, it kind of looks a little like muddy and weird. Just keep going. Don't mix too like aggressively or too fast. Just let it do its thing. One thing that helps to really enhance that chocolate flavor is coffee. Adding a half cup is not going to make this taste like mocha. It's not gonna make it taste like coffee. It's just gonna make it so that final product has a really deep chocolate flavor. Oh, look at that. Okay, I won't lie. I really like eating this batter. Anybody who says that you can't eat batter, don't come for me in the comments. This is not the place for you. I'm doing it. Oh my God, it's so good. You can do this in 2 pans. So these are 2 8-inch cake pans. These ones are from USA Pan. Love these. I get them on Amazon. And then what I did was I just took some parchment paper and I cut it into a circle, and then I put it on the bottom of my cake pan. The last thing I need to do, and yes, I am pulling butter out of my drawer, is I need to just butter the sides of these pans. If you have any sort of spray, like a cooking spray, a baking spray, you can do that on the sides of your pans, but I just will run a stick of butter. It can just be cold butter over the sides of my pans, and this is gonna help it so my cake doesn't stick to the sides of my pans when I pull it out. I wanna have a 3-layered cake, so what I will do is I will pour roughly a third and a third into these 2 cake pans. I'll have a third left over. This batter can sit for a little bit, so I'll bake off the first 2 layers. Once those are cool, I'll clean one of these and then I'll finish off the 3rd layer. Ooh, that looks so good. Oh my gosh, like I can smell chocolate right now and it just smells phenomenal. And then what I'm going to do is just look at these. This one looks a little bit thicker, so I think I'm just gonna take a little bit of a spoon. As I'm doing this, I'm literally like lifting up cake batter with a spoon. I just wanna show you guys, baking does not have to be this precise, exact science. There's certain things that you do wanna be precise with. Measuring, I want you to be really precise. Bake time, I want you to be really precise. But stuff like this where you get a little bit messy, don't think that just because you scoop batter from one pan to another, you're a bad baker. It does not mean you're a bad baker whatsoever. Sincerely, a professional baker. We are gonna put these in a 350-degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes, but while we do that, I am going to show you how to make the perfect buttercream frosting. Chocolate buttercream frosting. Chocolate buttercream frosting. If you're thinking, who's this crazy lady shoving butter in her pants? It's me, Sarah from Broma Bakery, and we are doing a Back to Basics series on how to make the perfect chocolate buttercream frosting. And you know what? The perfect chocolate buttercream frosting starts off with perfectly room temperature butter. And I have found over the years that this is literally the best way to soften butter. You start off with 1 cup of very room temperature body butter. And then we are going to put this into a stand mixer. You can also use a hand mixer, but I really like the stand mixer because the paddle attachment keeps things really nicely creamed without adding too much air. So we're gonna do this over like a medium speed until it gets light and fluffy. So it's gonna take about a minute. Once we have done that, we are going to add in 1 cup of Dutch processed cocoa powder. Be very careful with that because he is very powdery. And this you're gonna start mixing, woo! You're gonna, oh, it tastes like chocolate. I swear to God, I got that in my throat. So we're gonna start this on a low speed because we don't want that to all come flying in our face because it already did that. And then once that gets a little bit incorporated, we will turn it to a medium speed. All right, you can see that this is lightened in color ever so slightly. Okay, so next we're gonna add our remaining ingredients. Now, this recipe, for its liquid, you can use two things. You can use cold or room temperature brewed coffee, or you can use milk. I think I'm gonna use a combination of the two. And we're gonna start off with 3 tablespoons, but go to 4 tablespoons as needed. So I'm gonna do some milk and some coffee. Then I'm going to add a little pinch of salt. This is about a ½ teaspoon. I'm gonna add 1 pound of powdered sugar. All right. And then 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. But you know, we measure vanilla extract with a heart, so we're just gonna kind of go in. This you're gonna start out at a low speed just so things don't fly in your face, and then you're gradually increase to medium high. And there you have it, the perfect chocolate buttercream. So this is a really nice texture. It's holding its shape, but it has a lot of air in it. But as I drag my finger across, it just feels, I kind of want to say it feels like really soft clay. So this is gonna hold up in between 2 cake layers. It's not too thin. If you find your frosting is too thin at this stage, you can add in another ½ cup of powdered sugar. And if you find that it's too thick at this stage, you can add in more milk or more coffee. Do it just a tablespoon at a time, mixing between each addition. These cakes are out of the oven, and I wanna show you how to tell when your cake is perfectly done. We're going to take a butter knife and just stick that in the center of your cake. When it comes out, the knife should be clean or mostly clean, but this is how you are going to just tell. So you can see my knife is clean, we are ready. These then are going to sit for like 10 minutes. And then once those are room temperature, I'm gonna wrap these in aluminum foil and I'm gonna throw them into the freezer. I like freezing my cakes because then when I frost them, they're much colder and they hold together better so that the crumbs don't go everywhere. We are going to frost this layer cake, and as you can see, we have our 3 cake layers. And then I have a cake spinner. I highly recommend, if you like baking and you like cakes, invest in a cake spinner. You can get them for like $20 on Amazon, and they are just phenomenal. Take just a tiny bit of our buttercream, and we're just gonna scrape it, just like that, on the bottom of our cake spinner. I'm gonna open up my 3 layers of cake, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for the ugliest one. And the ugliest one to me is the one that maybe it cracked, maybe like a little piece came off the side, maybe it's really uneven, whatever it is. And that is my layer that I'm gonna make sure goes into the middle. So I'm gonna start off with this guy. I'm just going to place him on my cake spinner. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a pretty big glob of frosting, and I'm just gonna put that, that's probably a little bit too big, I'm not gonna lie. Whatever you do, you're just gonna start tossing that cake spinner around with one hand, just like this, and then use the other hand to just start pushing that frosting out. And what you're looking to do at every stage of this vertical frosting process is you're looking to push this frosting out past the lip of your cake. So that's layer 1. And then I'm gonna go with layer 2. So I'm gonna put him in the middle. I like to then go to eye level and just make sure my cake is even. That looks good. And you see, because we had all of this frosting in the middle here, and then we have this gap between our 2 layers, we can now just push that frosting into that gap. Gorgeous. All right, then we're gonna do the exact same thing. We wanna get our frosting all the way to the edge, so make sure that we're doing that. Moving on to our last cake layer, I am going to now take this, and instead of putting our last cake layer on right side up, I am going to flip it around so the bottom of our cake is on the top. This is gonna get us a really nice, even, straight edge to the top of our cake. Come down here and make sure I can level it off. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna take that bench scraper and just smush that frosting in to the side, and then we are going to get the outside of our cake. Okay, but before we do that, you're probably thinking, Sarah, why the heck did you just bring out chopsticks? Let me tell you, because chopsticks work so well for acting as dowels in cake. You're gonna take a chopstick, measure out how tall your cake is, and then I'm going to cut right below that. And then I'm basically going to use this as a way to keep my cake really steady. This is especially nice if your cake is anywhere over 2 layers. And then obviously if you do this, just let your guests know. But I'm just gonna shove those in. Ready? Goodbye. All right, so before we go to do our final frosting of this cake, what I'm gonna do is just take my bench scraper and just go around to try to make a little bit of a crumb coat. And it's really supposed to sort of seal in all of the crumbs that naturally occur from cake. And then you got a crumb coat, there it is. So we'll do a little bit of a crumb coat on the top of the cake too. So really the purpose here is just getting the smallest amount of frosting over your cake as possible. So see, it's like almost like scrapey. I'm just gonna come in with my fingy and just try to get this edge a little bit more. I mean, truly, like, you can't do this wrong. You can do whatever, and it's gonna turn out beautifully. Okay, so now, really, you just kind of like put a bunch of frosting on, and then what I like to do is I like to put a little bit, move, spin, a little bit, move, spin, a little bit, move, spin. So at this stage, we're now trying to apply a coat of frosting. Love it, love it, love it. All right, I'm gonna spin the frosting just like we did on those first layers, letting the frosting come past the vertical lip of our cake. Now use that to sort of combine these 2 planes of cake into one. A perfect coat. I'm gonna put some just into my hand. I'm just gonna put this all along the top. I feel like that would be sweet, yeah. Oh, look at that cuteness. So, now that we've done that, we have to transfer this to our final resting place. And you are going to slowly drag it into your cake like this, and then you're gonna take your bench scraper and drag it the other way. And now we are going to pick up our cake. You have to just like trust yourself and transfer him over. Try to make him as even as possible. I don't think there's a right way if you take out the bench scraper first or the knife first, but I think twisting a little bit can kind of help it to come out nicely. Take your bench scraper maybe on like a cleaner side and just use it to sort of smooth out anything that you did weirdly. Do. And then paper towel, sort of wrap it around your finger to just wipe any excess along the edge. It looks so good. Okay, wow. Wow, wow, wow. I am so impressed by us. We did so well. You and me, you and me, and you. All right, here we go. So we're just gonna take sharp knife. Anytime you're cutting baked goods, use the sharpest knife you have on hand. We're going to just commit. Ready? Go. And hope we don't hit those dowels. I'm gonna drag this out and then I'm gonna go over to hot water. Rinsing off in hot water and getting a clean knife in between each cut is gonna give you a really, really beautiful, clean slice of cake. All right, ready? Commit. Boom. There she goes. Drag out. Ooh, okay, here we go. Moment of truth. Oh my God. I'm just gonna sit here for a second. I just want it to live. I'm gonna have it live standing up. That's how it's gonna live. I like it. Okay. This is how we are going to end this chocolate cake. I'm gonna recreate that photo that I showed you at the beginning, and so this is gonna bring me so much joy. I'm so I look crazy, but I'm so happy. First of all, thank you so much for indulging me in that. That like really made my week. Secondly, thank you so much for joining me for this really fun chocolate cake. This is the last episode of season 1 of Sweet Tooth. So if you liked these videos and you want to see more, throw us a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. It will really help us out, and hopefully we can bring you a season 2 and keep the treats coming your way. I'm so excited for this. This is also the last episode we're filming right now, so we're all gonna go have a chocolate cake party. So without further ado, thank you so much, and I will see you guys in a little bit. And happy sweet toothing. Keep sweet toothing. Hold on to those sweet tooths. I don't know. I'll work on it for season 2. Bye, guys.